Roll for Crit is brought to you by our Patreon supporters. Come roll with us at patreon.com/rollforcrit.
Join us as we jump into Dive from Sit Down. In this game, you are taking part in an ancient tradition in which the elder of your village has thrown the sacred stone into the ocean, and it is up to you to dive deeper than your competitors in order to retrieve that stone.
Here's a look at what the game is going to look like once it's set up. These are prototype components. In the final version, they're going to look much nicer, more thematic, but you get a general idea of how things are going to be with this setup. Each player is going to have their own personal board like this with their own set of 5 air tokens, and those are going to be hidden behind their own personal screen, so only you will be able to see your board and your tokens until they're revealed later on. What you're attempting to do is look at this stack of transparent cards and try to figure out which types of creatures you can see and predict how far down you think they are. The way you're going to do that is by placing your air tokens onto these bubbles here. These spaces each represent one level of depth. So this is going to correspond to the top card here, the second one to the one directly underneath it, and so on. And you can put any number that you want in that space. The more points that you have there, the more likely you are to get the benefits from it compared to the other players. You can even stack them up if you want, so that could be a 5. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could go crazy. You could put all your eggs into one basket, but you don't really want to do that. You are trying to get as deep as you possibly can while still being accurate and getting the highest numbers in each of those spaces. The accuracy is because there are sharks on some of these cards, and you need to predict where those sharks are going to be by flipping the token in that space. If you think you see a shark there, you need to have it on the shark side. Or if you think there isn't a shark there, you got to have it on the non-shark side. If you are wrong in any of your guesses, you're going to be punished.
After all players have finished putting down their tokens, you will remove your screens and reveal your boards. Then, starting with the first tile, you will pick it up and show it to all the players. First, you're going to check if there are any sharks. If there are sharks there, you're going to make sure your tokens are shark side up. If not, you want them not shark side up. For each player that does not match, in this case we do, you get to keep all your tokens if they match and continue. If they didn't match, you would actually remove all tokens below it, pretty much ending your dive. Next, you're going to check for positive benefits. This case, it's going to be turtles and mantas. There'll be other things here, such as the seaweed and maybe some fish, but they don't really matter. They're just there to look pretty and maybe make you unsure of what's coming up. Now, this is when those point values come in. Right now, we only have a 1, so it's very unlikely we're going to get that turtle. If anyone was to beat us, they get that turtle instead and move up on the score tracker, in essence trying to get deeper. There are also red turtles, which conveniently is on the next space. They are worth 2. Now, the other thing are Manta Rays. These are actually very unique. They don't give you points per se, but what they'll do is if you win that space, you will get to actually move up to the next player. So right now it's not much, but if someone got a good lead, those mantas can be very helpful. By the way, if you actually look at how we laid these out right now, we guessed a shark was going to be on this see-through card, which there wasn't, meaning we wouldn't have had a chance to get the bonus and we would have lost our next dives. But for now, let's just continue. Coming up next are sharks. That's what they're going to look like. They're both hammerheads, regular, but they're all sharks the same. Make sure you predict those correctly. After you've gone through all 5 cards, you're going to look at your board. For every space still filled with a token, so in this case, it'd be 3. If you had them stacked, it'd still be 3. You get to move up that many more spaces. So there is a bit of a reward, even if you don't get those turtles, to go deeper because you'll move faster that way. However, you'll notice on the space sheet, there's a point when the circles change from a white to a dark blue. This is when you enter the depths and the rules change for you a bit. First off, Manta Rays will no longer push you forward. It's too deep for them. Second, if you make an incorrect guess, you lose all your tokens, meaning you're going to have to be a bit more careful on guessing where animals are located. The game will continue until you hit the 23 mark. Then you're going to finish the round, and that will be the end of the game. Of course, you can go beyond 23, and whoever made it the deepest is the winner. Now, there are plenty of fun little variants, including these cool companion tokens. Each one has a unique rule, such as, for example, the octopus can be placed on the board and no one can move that, so it's hard to guess what is actually there. We've got an orca, which will put a timer on where you can place your tokens, or things that can help you, such as the turtle, which give you more points for turtles, or the clownfish, which just act as a simple 3 token. These are all one-time uses, so make sure you use them at the most optimal time.
In addition to those companions, there are a few other optional modes you can throw in here. One is the option to take a flashlight that could be from a cell phone or real flashlight or whatever you want, and look around the sides of the cards with that light to try to get a better angle on it. Every player would have a chance to do that during their turn. There's also an easier version of the game, a simpler version, so you can play it with younger kids. And then there's a solo version of the game where you kind of play against an AI diver. But it works similarly. So there's a few different ways that you can spice it up instead of just having what is at its heart a pretty simple game. I think the fun of it, what makes it very interesting, is this, we'll probably refer to it as a gimmick, but I don't see that as a negative thing in this instance of looking through these transparent cards and trying to see what you can see. It's something very different that I can't think of any other games that have a mechanic like that.
It is a push your luck system, but you are sharing what you're pushing in essence. It's not like you have your own deck and you draw to see if you go bust. You could go bust, but the other player could go too because you misinterpreted that seaweed. You're like, oh, surely that's above the shark, and you thought the shark was deeper than you expected.
Yeah. There's also some of these cards have holes in them. It could be like one big hole or a few little holes. We refer to them as air bubbles sometimes. They kind of look like that, and that will also play some tricks on you. It's interesting because this is a game that requires visual accuracy in a way that very few other games really do. It certainly made me realize that I'm very bad at judging what levels of depth things are at. It's also a game that is very, I think, family friendly, kid friendly. Like I said, it has that kid mode, but also just generally a fairly casual, pleasant game in that sometimes you might get pushed pretty far behind. You might just really, like me, be bad at predicting where things are. But because you have that Manta Ray, especially, the Manta Ray is huge. Like, you always have the chance. There's always the possibility until it really is too late. But for most of the game, even if you're very far behind, you always can catch up. So you never feel like you're totally out of it.
I also think in the nature of the cards, I was thinking less of how do I push better because I need to beat Jonathan and more of like, oh, right. Can I get that shark there? It's almost like you want to just be correct, and that's where the joy comes in. Or when you're wrong, you're like, oh no. It's not like oh, I'm still behind on points. You're more of just it's almost you take each round as its own event.
Yeah.
And it just comes to an end. And of course, those if you want to make it more of a game, those companions make things really fun. I really love that octopus because you can just slam it down really quick and be like, I didn't even look. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I think it just adds that. And there's so many other weird ones that are, I definitely think, more gamey. Like there's a shark one that pretty much is you're making bets on people being able to guess or be incorrect in guessing where sharks are. So I think there's a huge variety of those companion tokens. And of course, whether you're my age or you're a kid, getting look, here's an orca token. You're like, yay, I got another animal.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. It's if you like ocean stuff, it's really cool just to look and feel these cards, which we're not even sure we should call them cards because they're thicker, like slightly different material than a regular card. They're kind of their own thing.
Yes, I don't feel though that's a side conversation of what is a card and what is a tile.
It's a philosophical debate that you're gonna have for us in the comments section. But I think if you like that theme, or if you have a family, some kids that would be interested in this kind of thing, or just want something that's kind of a lighter, almost feels in some ways it's kind of like a programming game, but it's also like you said, like press your luck, trying to see how deep you can go. Very interesting, different elements at play, and primarily the main element being water. Then maybe this is something you want to look at. In the US, this game should be available sometime within the next few months, so stay tuned to Board Game Geek or social media. We'll put links in the description to find out exactly when you can get your hands on it. I'm certainly interested to play with the final product, play it a few more times and see how the game develops and how it continues, but it's, as we said, a very innovative, very different kind of experience.
If you want to let us know how you'd play it, whether it's with friends or very competitive with your gaming group, let us know in those comments down below. And of course, what companion would you like to join, whether it's in the game or not? some dolphins, an anglerfish, maybe an oarfish. I'd love to hear your sea animal thoughts. Until then, I'm Will.
I'm Jonathan.
This has been Roll for Crit.
If you want to help out, you can check out our Patreon, or a simple click to like and subscribe can go a long way.
We really appreciate everything that you can do for us. We love you.